Hey, welcome back to YT Finance, and this is the channel where I went to business school so you didn't need to, and today we are talking about Sofi Technologies SOFI stock and how we have bad news that is actually good news in disguise. We will talk about how SOFI will achieve profitability in 2024, which is going to be a huge catalyst for Sofi Technologies stock price, which could send it surging upwards. Then lastly, we're going to talk about Sofi Technologies opportunity and their competition and their competitors within the fintech space. We're also going to touch on other news updates regarding the SOFI stock and the student loan moratorium, so stay tuned for that. But first, remember to go and smash that like button right now for more SOFI Technologies videos. Subscribe if you're new, comment your thoughts down below about when you think SOFI Technologies will become a profitable company, and without further ado, let's jump right into today's stories. So we're going to start off going over the price targets as we normally do. So SOFI Technologies, if you didn't know, is a fintech company that has an all-in-one inclusive app that offers their consumers everything they could possibly need in terms of financial services and or products. The ticker symbol for SOFI is SOFI, and it's currently trading for around $7 right now. However, the low-end analyst price target for the company is $10, which gives us a fantastic margin of safety to start either averaging down our cost or starting a position in SOFI Technologies right now, because the stock price is very oversold in my opinion right now, especially if we compare it to the low-end analyst price target of $10. The average price consensus among analysts for the next 12 months is $14 per share, which means that the current stock price could literally double in the span of 12 months, which is fantastic news, and it could present an opportunity for us to double our money. However, the high-end bullish price prediction among analysts and professionals is $22 per share, which is very high. It's over 3 times higher than what the stock is currently trading at. However, with the current SOFI stock price trading at around $7, what could the stock price be in the coming years, particularly 2024? Because apparently, analysts and professionals project that SOFI Technologies is going to bring in around $300 million worth of profit in 2024, which is absolutely staggering. This not only lowers the risk of investors who are buying the company right now, anticipating that they will become profitable, but it also gives institutions and even investors, particularly retail investors like you and I, more hope for the future of this overall company. Despite rising interest rates and macroeconomic factors, SOFI Technologies could be very volatile in the years of 2022 and 2023. However, from 2024 on, it looks like SOFI Technologies has a very bright future based solely on financials and fundamentals of the overall company. So this is fantastic news, and I'm very excited for this company to actually turn profitable. However, if we calculate and we actually backtrack what the projected profits will be according to today's price, currently SOFI Technologies is trading at a fair value price according to the profits. However, with the growth stock, we are actually betting on the company growing even more into the future, which means that the current stock price or the fair value price right now could be around $20 per share. If you want to know, here we have the formula on screen for the calculation, and this particular calculation says that the current stock price of $7 is the fair value price. However, if we look at Morningstar's fair value price, we see that the company could either match or exceed $20 per share. But if we jump over to the more bearish analysts, we can see that according to 13 industry analysts that currently cover the SOFI stock, we see that they anticipate that they're going to generate profits of around $163 million. Also, I want to say that out of these 13 industry analysts that are currently covering SOFI Technologies, all of them right now say that SOFI Technologies is either a buying opportunity for retail investors or at least a holding opportunity, which means that if you are already invested into the company, there's no sense in adding more or doubling down on your current convictions, and you should just hold it for the long term. However, both of these are actually very encouraging because we don't see any underperform ratings or sell ratings from these industry analysts. And the fact that SOFI Technologies is projected to become a profitable company in around 2 years from now is absolutely phenomenal. So as we see the stock price continue to drop and become very volatile throughout the year of 2022 and 2023 for reasons that we will talk about in this video, such as the student loan moratorium being extended, as well as the bad news that can be flipped on its head for the good news that we will talk about later in this video. However, right now we're going to focus on profitability, and this is going to be a huge catalyst for the overall SOFI stock price, which could cause it to absolutely surge once 2024 comes around. This also means that we can backtrack the projections of how much it will take and how much growth we can anticipate from SOFI Technologies to actually reach a break-even point by 2024. On average, it turns out that professionals are averaging and forecasting around a 67% year-on-year growth rate from now until 2024, so they can become profitable in 2024, or at minimum break even. If we go down here, you can see that their revenues are consistently on a very positive upward trajectory, which is fantastic, as well as their earnings. From this point right now in 2022 onwards, we can see that the company is going to focus and become more profitable, or work toward profitability on a very consistent basis, to eventually achieving profitability, and it looks like mid-2024, which is absolutely fantastic for a growth stock to eventually become profitable, and then from then on it could act as a huge catalyst for the overall stock price. Now, with that being said, we also have to watch SoFi's competition. So SoFi right now is a market leader in terms of fintech technology, but I think investors should always have a very diversified portfolio and invest into a plethora of other fintech companies. Although I think SoFi Technologies is the clear market leader among these companies, these other companies are also respectable investments. Particularly, I really like Block and Credit Accept, and those would be my two competitors that I personally have diversified into. But other competition that SoFi Technologies would face to a degree would either be Credit Accept, Lending Club, Block, which was formerly called Square, as well as Open Lending. So feel free to diversify your portfolio within the fintech space among these various competitors. I also think PayPal should be included in this list as well, but we will talk more about PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, and American Express actually later in this video. But right now, we're focusing on SoFi Technologies and how they're going to become profitable in the overall SOFI stock price. Now I want to talk about the bad news that can actually be flipped to good news. So you are all probably aware of the student loan moratorium, which says that students don't have to pay on their federal student loans, and it's not accruing interest right now, which has hurt SoFi Technologies because SoFi Technologies actually got their start in student loan refinancing. So without students refinancing their student loans because they don't have to make payments on them due to President Biden extending the student loan moratorium, which prevents students from having to pay on these loans, this has indirectly and directly hurt SoFi Technologies very drastically. And this is relatively bad news, but here's where the good news comes. We have either one of two options that will happen due to the student loan moratorium. Either A, the student loan moratorium will be extended again, and whenever the student loan moratorium stops, it's going to act as a fantastic catalyst for the overall SOFI stock price. So eventually the student loan moratorium will come to an end. Either President Biden will stop the student loan moratorium, which means that students will be more incentivized to refinance their student loans with companies such as SoFi Technologies, or the student loan moratorium will go away entirely because President Biden will pay off all of the student loan debt. Now, investors actually think that the latter option is very bad, and I actually don't think so, because I don't think they know what this means. If President Joe Biden says that students don't have to pay on their student loans anymore, and he basically abolishes any student loan debt that students have right now, this is actually good news for SoFi Technologies, because this actually means that the government will be paying off institutions such as SoFi Technologies, because the students themselves will not have to pay that debt. That burden would then fall to the government, and the government will pay off their debt, which means that either way, SoFi Technologies will get their money from the student loan refinances that they have already done. So either way, SoFi Technologies will get their money, and this is why either one of these could act as a fantastic catalyst for the overall SOFI stock price. In the end, SoFi Technologies is going to get their money either way, and that is really what we want to focus on when we're talking about this company's overall trajectory. I also want to highlight what other analysts and very bullish financial reporters have said about SoFi Technologies, because they are normally compared to Amazon. And the comparison that's drawn here is that SoFi Technologies started off with refinancing student loans, and Amazon started off by selling books. However, in the future, SoFi Technologies is actually further diversifying their revenue channels to focus more on their financial products and services, as well as their other revenue channels, which we have talked about in other videos, and they are doing a fantastic job about diversifying into these various segments. Just like how Amazon now does not really focus on selling books, they make the majority of their money elsewhere, such as e-commerce and selling other products. So SoFi Technologies is actually branching away from student loans, just like how Amazon branched away from selling books, because they can make more money and revenue elsewhere by becoming more diversified. So that is the comparison that various analysts as well as financial reporters draw, and I think it is actually a very good parallel between Amazon and SoFi Technologies, which is why many people actually call SoFi Technologies the Amazon of finance, and we have talked about that multiple times in previous videos. However, with that being said, what can we anticipate going forward for the SOFI stock price? Well, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to see a lot of market volatility in the short run, which would be over the years of 2022 and potentially 2023. However, if you are a long-term investor that loves aggressive growth stocks like myself, you think that SOFI Technologies is a good long-term buying opportunity, and that is what I really want to focus on. You're buying the company right now based on what the company can be 10 years from now. So even if the stock price drops to around $5 or even $3 in the next year or two, in the next 10 years, we can easily assume that the stock price is going to be well over $7 per share, and that's what I really want investors to focus on. I want them to focus on the long-term buying opportunities and how the overall fintech industry is absolutely exploding. Wall Street has seemingly abandoned high-growth, unprofitable companies because we saw a huge market shift from investors, particularly retail investors, taking and selling stocks of growth companies because we saw this transition from growth companies into value companies because the current stock market is acting very volatile right now due to geopolitical factors. However, I personally think, as well as other analysts and financial reporters, think that SOFI Technologies is actually a great buying opportunity right now to buy on weakness. While everyone is scared and fearful, this is the best time to buy fantastic undervalued companies. Even if SOFI Technologies, like we said earlier, according to some bearish analysts, think that the current $7 stock price is a fair value for the company, that is still good because in the future it could be worth substantially more. And I think it's only a matter of time before investors end up figuring out the true worth of this fantastic fintech company. The business is overall very strong, they have diversified revenue channels, they have great financials and fundamentals, and they have strong future growth projections that are over 40%, which is absolutely phenomenal. This 40% not only could be attributed to the overall stock price, but particularly for their revenues, and we already know that the company is headed toward profitability, which is absolutely fantastic. This is why many analysts think that SOFI Technologies will hit a bottom between $7 to $5, and once that bottom is hit, the stock price will actually skyrocket and rebound very nicely, and that's what investors are currently hoping for, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, the frustrating thing about SOFI Technologies is that we are anticipated to see the stock price fall and rise again very aggressively over the next couple of years, not depending on how well SOFI Technologies is doing as a company, but rather because the overall stock market is extremely risky right now. However, I personally always keep my money in the stock market. I never sell out of the stock market, and if anything, I only buy in more while the overall market is falling. Why wouldn't I want to buy my high conviction companies and plays when they're even cheaper than what I bought them before? Now, with that being said, this should be a part of a very diversified portfolio. You don't want to overexpose yourself to any 1, 2, or even 5 companies. You want to be well diversified in a plethora of sectors. At least that's what I do. And remember, this is not financial advice. So although many SOFI stock investors can be very frustrated in the short term, if you're willing to hold the company for the long term, or at least when the company becomes profitable, SOFI Technologies to me is a very good long-term investment. It's a long-term hold because this is one of my high conviction plays, and I think that the company could really make something of itself in the future. The world is clearly moving toward more digitalization, and with SOFI Technologies all-in-one super app, this is bringing digital finance to everyone who can download the app. We actually see somewhat of a passing of the torch, this article says, between old fintech companies like Visa, MasterCard, and American Express, which are all fantastic companies and stocks to own in their own right. However, right now we're seeing a new generation of companies form themselves, such as PayPal, Block, Affirm, SOFI Technologies, and even Upstart. These are fantastic companies in my opinion, and I am very glad that I am diversified in honestly all of these companies right now. So for those who want to average down their average costs for SOFI Technologies, you can feel free to do that, just do that very wisely. For those of you who are getting into SOFI Technologies for the first time right now, don't overexpose yourself to SOFI Technologies right off the bat. Leave some room to either average down your price as the stock price continues to fall because of the current volatile stock market environment, or wait until the company becomes profitable to even initiate an original investment. However, overall, I personally think that the average price target for SOFI Technologies leaves room for us to easily double our money in the next 12 months, according to analysts and various professionals, and I also believe that the future growth trajectory of SOFI Technologies makes this company extremely lucrative, and I'm extremely bullish on this overall company. So collectively, all all of this together, when we take into consideration the student loan moratorium, their future projected profitability, the stock's current fair value price, the price targets among analysts, and the various catalysts that are going to come up in SoFi Technologies, overall, I think this is a very strong company. But I would love to hear your thoughts down below. Remember to go and smash that like button right now for more SoFi stock videos like this one. Subscribe if you are new, and I will see you in the next YT video.